Well, hello everyone, and I can't take the smile off my face. I'm here with two incredible ladies, Bitten and Jonsson, who most of you will know well and truly for her incredible work in the sugar addiction and sugar and carb addiction space. And I am also introducing you to Annica, who is someone who I know Bitten admires and has done a lot of work with. And together, they are bringing you a fantastic presentation within the summit. So welcome, ladies, and thank you so much for being a part of this.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Nice being here.
Yeah, I'm very happy to work with Annica. I met her on a parking lot. What is it? 14 years ago, 16?
16, yeah,
Oh
16 years ago.
Jesus. Oh, I must be very old. 16 years ago, she came to one of my, intensive workshops to deal with her addiction, which she understood but didn't know a lot about, knowledge wise. And, I've been very happy to follow her recovery and all the work she has done. It's incredible the work she has done with herself and also helping others. And she's the one now today that I send all the families and children to, because I don't know how to work with kids and families and all that. I always choosing to work with adults. But I send them to her. She's written a book about that, and also she's one of my technical whiz. Because she's younger than me, so she's more into all the social media, which I freak out at. I mean, how do you use Instagram, and how do you do this? And I mean, for an old fart like me, that's very, very confusing. All the platforms and media, and I know Zoom, now we have StreamYard. Oh my goodness, I freak out. She helps me. And I admire the way she lives her life on a milk cow farm. Is that what you say? All the things she juggled through a day, I will never do that. And she's always there for me when I need her help or need to send somebody to her. And another thing we have in common, that we have the absolutely sickest humor ever. It's only with people that have a stable long-term recovery you can joke about the addiction. So some of the things we joke about is other people might cry, but we can laugh at it. And I think that's very, very healing, to be able to laugh at something, and an illness that is so painful, so shameful, filled with stigma, denial. Like someone said, she's also an admin in the big group of more than 10,400 people that we have on Facebook, a close group, the sugar bomb in your brain. Welcome in there. She does posts and she answers lots of questions. I don't have too much time to be there, but so it's very, very healing to laugh at this horrible, deadly, chronic, painful illness that you have to struggle with for the rest of your life. So we're sending each other lots of fun stuff. So I'm very happy to be working with Annica.
That's amazing. So, Bitten, just before we introduce Annica, with your sense of humor about your addiction, I mean, how long did that take for you to get to a place where you felt you could laugh at it? And
I've been in recovery almost 37 years. In end of September, it is 37 years, and I started and was with my alcoholism. 7 years later, I started with the food, so that's going to be 29 years. I think it's hard to remember when you look back at that. It's unbelievable it's been that long, but it took several years before I could really, use that as one of the tools in my toolbox for recovery, like, with spiritual growth, with physical knowledge and healing, and the psychological and the social, all those areas that we addicts have so many, many consequences in, which the misconception is a lot that we think it is all those consequences that are the reason we eat. So we tend to put the wagon in front of the horse. And that's why we don't get into recovery and heal. So that's why we use the sugar tool, which Annica is tutoring in my training too. And she does the sugar tool, the diagnostic evaluation. it's when we see that curve, we can start see that the addiction always comes first, and it is a primary illness, not caused by something. And then when you start surrender to that, accepting that concept, that's when you can start put people in things in the right place. And then it's also when you start working on your healing process. And so it takes years to heal the brain, heal all the aspects, everything that the addiction has caused for you, all the consequences. And so I can't say exactly how many years, but it took years. Maybe Annica knows. She's younger than me, so she has a better memory.
She'll remember.
Remember how long time it took.
Annica, do you have a memory of when you first met Bitten?
Oh, yeah. I will never forget. I was, my children were 2 and 4, I think, when I started recovery, when I got the opportunity to start my recovery journey with Bitten. And she had written a book, and was quite kind of not famous, but known anyway in Sweden. And for me, at that stage in my life and in my disease, meeting someone who wrote a book, it was like meeting, I don't know, it was huge for me. And as I started my journey through Sweden, because we live approximately 4 or 5 hours apart, I was sitting in the car and I was stopping at every gasoline station to buy something, ice cream or chocolate or anything, because I was eating everything for the last time, because I was starting my recovery the day after. And I opened the door of my car, and Bitten came in the parking lot, and she was, look at her beauty, fancy clothes, her fingernails painted, and she's absolutely astonishing. And I kind of felt like I was, wobbling out of the car because I was so full. And Bitten was like, well, let's have dinner now. You have to be hungry, driving so far. And I was like, yeah, sure, I didn't dare to say I had been eating all the time. So that was my first memory of Bitten. But then, she gave me all the knowledge about the addiction and food addiction, sugar addiction. And I'm so grateful, and there are so many being so grateful to Bitten for what she's done, all the knowledge and the fight for everyone to understand that addiction is addiction, no matter what outlet. And I think that's one of the most important work that I need to do, besides working with families and children, but to really make people understand that it's not like having an addiction. It is having an addiction when we're talking about sugar addiction. And that's very important. It was not until I understood that I could really go from having, doing diets and exercising, starving, volume eating or whatever. When I understood that I'm having an addiction, an illness, that's when I could start recovery and understand that putting all the drug food down isn't restriction. For me, that was going towards living instead of just, trying to control my life with weight and everything. So, but like you said, meeting Bitten was astonishing.
Well, I think it's amazing, the work that you both do in the space. It's so needed. And you're right. I think there's so much of a struggle to even get people to admit, that it is an issue. And, we was talking about this with a colleague the other day, this everything in moderation, essentially it just ignores the fact that so many of the everything in moderation foods are addictive foods. So there's so many different layers to the issue. But what I would love to know from both of you, I guess, is if someone comes to the summit and they watch your presentation, what are some of the things they will walk away with? No,
you want to go, Bitten?
What will they walk away with? Well, I think the fact that it is we do embrace it and accept it fully. It's not something bad or shameful. And my opinion is that anyone looking for help And if the professional is not capable of explaining what addiction is, the person will never feel the relief of the acceptance and the freedom, you know. So many people are so afraid of the word addiction, and it should be the opposite. We would embrace it because we didn't cause it. It happens to us. So it comes from the Greek word, adicere, which means enslaved. And that's what we are. You are enslaved to the drug. The drug rules your life, and it kills you before it makes you dead before it kills you, is what I used to say. So, the relief, the freedom of having an addiction. But you have to understand what it is in order to feel that deep surrender that, I have an illness called addiction. It's not a dangerous word. So when I understood the addicted part of my brain, and that it wasn't caused by something I've done or something that was done to me or something that happened to me, it was due to the drug. The drug did this to my reward center. When I understand that, total freedom and cure. So any professional, working with this has to be capable of explaining what addiction is all about. That's when the relief and the freedom comes. And I think about what one person wrote on the platform. I think that was saying everything with few words. I have known for a long time, I've understood for a long time that I have an addiction, but I didn't want to admit it because I didn't want to do the changes necessary, i.e., my reward center doesn't want to let go of the drug. And remember, the drug is extremely powerful. The grip it has on your reward center is horrible, horrible. I'd also like to point out, which I do a lot to my clients, that the battle they have had, it shows how strong they are, how resilient they are, all the diets they tried, all the methods they tried, all the professionals they tried, blah, 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 on and on and on. They always keep getting up after falling down. They are very strong, very resilient, but they had the wrong toolbox. No wonder nothing happened. So, and I also, think about, it took me some years too to understand that having a brain that could be addicted is a superpower. My sensitive brain is one of my big superpowers, but I had the wrong handbook. So with the right handbook, I can use my brain and my body in a very, very beautiful living way, instead of, the drug keeping its grip on me. And I have to run around and get the food and eat the food and feel miserable and, all that. So that's what I think is very important. So addiction is a beautiful word, my word.
Yeah. Oh, I just love that so much. So much, just totally turned on its head, which, is, so needed.
That's how we conquer it, by understanding that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Annica, did you want to add anything in terms of what, you're bringing to the presentation?
Well, I was sitting here. I think we also talked about the sugar tool, and I want to connect it to what Bitten is saying, because I think and I keep saying that, but when you do sugar, it's a questionnaire. We ask a lot of questions.
Structured interview.
Yeah, thank you. And when we sit there and do this interview and we ask the questions, usually it's the first time someone asks the right questions, and it's because it takes one to know one, kind of. And that also is, I mean, we when I had my interview done, it was like, someone knew me so much I didn't even know myself in that way, And that's so important. And that's also where we can connect back to the humor, because when you start to see the patterns and see that you keep doing the same things and expect to have another outcome from that, and you can keep doing so many crazy things, and then you can start laughing at it slowly. When you heal, you can start to laugh at the things that you used to do. And also, if you have a relapse or anything, you can go back to someone who knows it with compassion, who can embrace you, embrace the addiction, because it's nothing shameful or anything. Yeah, I think it's so important just to have, to talk about addiction and lift the shame. And I think that's also one thing that we do in the recording and when we're speaking. And that's also crucial. Yeah.
The shame is so, it's so important to, as you say, lift that, because there's so much shame tied to it. Bitten, and I shared with you when I spoke to you before, about my brother and his journeys. Do you know, like about 3 days ago, he graduated from his 3-year.
I get the chills.
Yeah.
Say hi, please.
I mean, I spent Sunday in tears because I was so proud of him. But he talks openly at his graduation. So my brother's 55, and he's been suffering with drug and alcohol, drug and gambling, really, addiction, and sugar in there for most of his life. And he visited here about 3 months ago, and he just sat and listened to all my stuff about the sugar, and he's taken all that on board now. He's lost weight, he's looking so good, and he got up there and he just shared his whole story and all the what it was like for him. But one thing that I resonated with so much is he said, 20 years ago, I surrendered. I just accepted where we said, but it still took me 20 years to get to the point where he is now. But it does it, but just never give up, but he says, it's not your fault that it's there, but you have to be the one to want to get well. And I mean, that addictive brain is just always trying to get in there and tell you different stories. And but I was so proud of him. I just wanted to share that with you because I know that I've told you that in the past, and I just think it's just when we talk, I shared it on my Facebook because I was so proud of him. And, I just think we need to talk about addiction, as you say, Annica. It's like, it's not just like addiction, it's addiction, and it just maybe here, maybe there.
Yeah, one illness, many outlets. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And I also like to quote something they told me in the beginning. The truth will set you free, but first it will make you crazy. Yeah. And that's really true because it's so painful to do that. And as I have a friend, he's a reverend, a psychotherapist here in Sweden, and we work together a lot. We're doing workshops about shame. And we say that we de-shame people, and because in order to be de-shamed, you have to take a shame bath. I mean, you have to go in there and lift it up. That's how you take it away. Talking about it, understanding it, that's a shame bath. And then you're de-shamed. I think, it's lovely how he put the words in there.
Yeah, that is beautiful. That is beautiful. Well, I've kept you long enough. It's been such a pleasure to see you both and talk to you, and obviously have you as part of the summit. It's just such a gift. I can't thank you enough, and love all your work. And keep going.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you for having us.
Thank you.
Big hug.
Oh, big hugs. Bye.
Bye.